You step into the torchlit hall at Chinon. Courtiers clad in silk whisper behind their hands, mocking the peasant girl who claims to speak for heaven. They have hidden Dauphin Charles among the crowd to test you. You bypass the decoys without a glance, walking directly to the disinherited heir. You bow and offer him a private sign, a secret whispered in his ear that drains the color from his face and secures his trust. It is a sharp historical irony that the cynical men testing you will easily dismiss seasoned generals, yet bend the knee to your terrifying, unyielding certainty. Here lies the true collision of your brief, brilliant life, your unyielding divine conviction crashing headlong into the deeply cynical, patriarchal machinery of 15th century warfare and politics. Absolute faith grants you, a marginalized outcast, the pure audacity to command kings. Born around 1412 in the border village of Domrémy, your world is defined by mundane labor and terrifying instability. You are the daughter of a relatively prosperous farmer who organizes village defense and collects taxes. Your days are spent spinning wool, sewing, and managing the household. While the other village youths innocently dance and weave flower garlands at an ancient oak known as the fairy tree, you are fiercely pious, often teased by friends for retreating to the church instead of playing. Around the age of 13, your reality fractures. You experience blinding visions of light and hear the voices of Saint Michael, Saint Catherine, and Saint Margaret. They speak to you of a ruined realm. France is entrenched in a brutal civil war between Armagnacs, loyal to the Dauphin, and Burgundians allied with the English. The 1415 disaster at Agincourt has decimated the French nobility, and the Treaty of Troyes has signed away Charles' birthright. Surrounded by a shattered society, deep spiritual isolation forges your unbreakable resolve. Passive piety cannot survive this era. In 1425, a Burgundian raid tears through Domrémy, forcing your family to flee as your home is burned. The French landscape is haunted by roving mercenaries and routine pillaging. The raid serves as your violent catalyst, pushing you from prayer into action. By 1428, you travel to Vaucouleurs, demanding an armed escort from the local commander. Necessity forces you to radically defy societal norms. The 15th century views cross-dressing as a profound abomination, yet you sever your hair and don male clothing to travel safely through enemy territory. Survival and your divine mission demand that you shed the vulnerable skin of a peasant girl and adopt the austere armor of a soldier. But earthly authority demands invasive proof before submitting to a divine mandate. After securing the Dauphin's trust at Chinon, he sends you to Poitiers to face a grueling examination by learned theologians. They probe your orthodoxy and verify your virginity, searching for the slightest trace of deception or demonic influence. When you finally satisfy their relentless scrutiny, the crown outfits you for war. Charles commissions custom white plate armor, costing the immense sum of 100 écus. You bear a white banner emblazoned with the words, Jesus Maria. For a weapon, you carry the sword of Fierbois, found rusted behind a church altar and engraved with 5 crosses. Local legend claims it once belonged to Charles Martel. You are no longer just a visionary. You are the gleaming tip of the Armagnac spear. In the spring of 1429, you arrive at the siege of Orléans. Cautious French generals urge delay, preferring slow attrition. But true leadership in war sometimes requires abandoning caution for unrelenting aggression. You bypass their counsels, leading devastating frontal assaults against the English fortifications. Within 9 days, you lift a siege that had suffocated the city for over half a year. Yet the battlefield reveals a stark moral paradox. You operate as a frontline commander, hurling men into the breach, but you actively avoid spilling blood yourself. Wandering the shattered earth, you weep openly over the bodies of both French and English soldiers. You are that rare commander who orchestrates mass violence with ruthless efficiency, yet retains enough humanity to mourn the very enemies you destroy. At the Battle of Patay, your vanguard launches a rapid, overwhelming assault, crushing retreating English archers before they can set their defensive stakes. You shatter the enduring myth of English invincibility in a single afternoon. But maintaining a holy crusade requires an iron will that aggressively purges the deeply ingrained vices of traditional warfare. You are fiercely pragmatic and quick-tempered with lazy commanders, demanding absolute discipline. In the aftermath of victory, you furiously chase prostitutes away from the army camps at sword point. In this violent burst of righteous anger, you allegedly strike a woman and snap the legendary sword of Fierbois in two. The relic breaks, a casualty of your desperate attempt to cleanse a corrupt earthly camp. Your momentum crests on July 17th, 1429. Deep in hostile territory, you march into the cathedral at Reims for the coronation of Charles VII. You stand beside the altar with your white banner unfurled, as the sacred oil anoints the new king. This is the zenith of your divine mandate. For a fleeting moment, your spiritual mission and the political reality of the French monarchy perfectly align. Profound symbolic victories can legitimize a fractured nation far more effectively than steel alone. But the protective aura of momentum is fragile, instantly shattered when stark physical reality interrupts zeal. In September, you lead an assault on the heavily defended walls of Paris. The Burgundian and English defenders are entrenched and merciless. In the chaotic press of the siege, a crossbow bolt punches through your thigh. You refuse to leave the field, urging your men forward, even as you bleed into the mud, until your lieutenants forcibly drag you from the fight. Your aura of invincibility evaporates in the Parisian dust. The brutal physical realities of earthly siege warfare have abruptly overpowered your divine luck. By the spring of 1430, you are fighting a losing war of attrition. Defending the town of Compiègne with a small mercenary company, you are trapped outside the gates during a desperate skirmish. Burgundian soldiers pull you from your horse. You are a prisoner. Political utility is deeply cynical. The king you crowned makes absolutely no effort to ransom you, and you are promptly sold to the English for 10,000 livres. Locked in a towering Beaurevoir castle, despair consumes you. You leap from the 70-foot tower, an act framed by inquisitors as a sin, but one you confess is a desperate attempt to flee or perish. Your fall carries a bitter resonance, revealing how eagerly powerful institutions will exploit your revolutionary fire, only to discard you the moment your usefulness expires. The ultimate conflict is not fought with swords, but in a suffocating prison cell. The English orchestrate your trial specifically to execute you as a heretic, seeking to prove Charles was crowned by an agent of the devil. Standard Inquisition trials for female prisoners typically hold them in church prisons guarded by nuns. You are denied this mercy. Surrounded by hostile male guards, you keep your men's clothing tightly laced and tied together out of a terrifying need to prevent them from assaulting you. In the courtroom, you face dozens of educated inquisitors who mercilessly weaponize procedural rules and theology against you. Yet you stun them into silence with masterful verbal parries. When asked if you are in God's grace, you reply, "If I be not in a state of grace, I pray God place me in it. If I be in a state of grace, I pray God keep me so." The terrifying threat of the fire eventually breaks your spirit. Suffering severe exhaustion, you briefly recant your visions. But days later, rebuked by your voices, you fatally re-embrace your truth. On May 30th, 1431, you are led to the old market square in Rouen. The physical conflict ends in flames. Amidst the jeering crowd, an English soldier takes pity on you. He hastily fashions a crude cross out of 2 sticks and hands it to you. You clutch it to your chest as the fire is lit, repeatedly crying out the name Jesus as the smoke consumes you. 25 years later, Charles VII initiates a nullification trial to clear his own political name, posthumously exonerating you of all heresy charges. Martyrdom transcends political execution. The unyielding divine conviction that led you to the flames ultimately forces history to vindicate you, proving that your spiritual mandate far outlasted the deeply cynical machinery that burned you.